The first establishment in Washington state was here in Fort Vancouver in the winter of 1824, where it became the epicenter of fur trading for the Hudson's Bay Company. It was a great visit to the fort as we explored the grounds and listened to guides tell us about carpentry, the fur trading business, the food they ate, and of course the cannons they had. 100 years later, there was an airfield next to it, so we explored that too. We are now heading to Fort Vancouver. Heading inside. It is a fee to enter, so we're going to go cover that and go in and tour around. This here is the jail. We're going to go take a look inside that. Bucket on the floor there. I don't know if that was where they went to the bathroom. What they got, looks like some shackles. And information board here talks about what life would have been like. So in there it's saying how lucky you were to be in the jail, because 50 years earlier they would have had corporal punishment on you and you'd be recovering from your wounds. So if you were in a jail, you were to be treated humanely, according to the Hudson's Bay Company and the committee from London in the early 1800s there. From the jail right there, this looks like it's the accounting house. And the door's closed there, so I'm going to see if I can get a good view inside. Not too bad of a view looking through the windows here. You can still see a little bit, kind of read some information there. We can get a good view from the side over here of the inside there. That's the front door there. If it were open, you'd be able to go in and see. So it's still pretty neat to see how they have it set up. The old wood stove there, some desks. And this is one of the back rooms where it looks like they have a little diorama over there on the left. And straight across there is where I was at just a minute ago. Looking at another back room here. Through the window here, getting a look at what the signboards in there look like. They're just telling the story of people who lived here and what life was like. This building off to my right here is the wood shop. So we're going to go in there and see what it's like, see what they have set up and what kind of information we can get.
Chisels. And we usually take, and you can see the wood is really drop cut. That's what they give us. And what we use our big planes for is to make it this smooth, like this, before we go ahead and do a project. We manage, we maintain all of our tools, make sure they're good and sharp. And all of those curls that you see there come in a big bag. And then we take them down to the kitchen, and that's what they use, and the blacksmith shop to start their fires with.
Just came out of the wood shop there, and it was pretty informative. The guy in there was telling us about how they didn't use a lot of nails back then and used glue and pegs to tighten and cinch things up. The glue, we asked him about how they made that glue back then, and he said it was out of the hides and hooves of animals that they were able to make an adhesive from. So that was pretty interesting. Approaching the tower over here, look up in the window and you can see cannons. Of course, that's what those windows were for, but the fact that you can see them is pretty cool. Entering into the tower. Nice. Got a cannon. I don't know what it's aiming at. Just kidding, it's here on display. The Bastion. Now headed up the stairs to the top of the Bastion. This is the cannon that we saw looking out the window right there. Obviously protecting all sides of it. One thing I'm interested in is it is pointed not just outside the fort walls, but inside as well. And later on, we'd learn the answer to that. From the angle of the cannon here, looking outside to see what it would look like and what it sees. This is looking inside the fort right now. Some of the other ones that they have. This one's pointed just outside along the walls. out to the grounds. That's where we walked in from. I'm sure that as you're in the Bastion here, that if there's anything you need to protect, it's looking out over there and seeing the orchard to make sure nobody's sabotaging or lighting it on fire. And these were for holding rifles in place, ready to grab quickly and defend when needed. Now heading over here, this is the fur store, according to the map. Go inside and see what it's like. When we got in there, the guide was hosting a school group, so we listened in for a few minutes, learning about different animal furs and what they were used for, then explored the setup around the rest of the room.
So this is a river otter. Okay? The unique thing about the otters, the river otter, every square inch, basically my finger and thumb here, there's between 400,000 and 600,000 hair. That fur is so thick, I can't spread that apart to see the underhide. So this guy is waterproof. So this guy doesn't get any large, he doesn't get any bigger than a small to medium-sized dog, but he lacks in size, he's got attitude. That little tiny, he's got real short stubby legs, he's got really sharp claws. No, you're right. Yeah, so this guy can actually bring down a full-grown moose. They don't hesitate to pick fights with bears. And he's got an X-Man character named after him. You guys might not like him about either.
And now this is the Indian Trade Shop. We'll go check it out.
Europe almost had gotten rid of all the fur because beaver pelt was gold. Everybody was wearing coats, hats. It was the style. So when the French discovered bigger, they couldn't make a business. The English did. We spread these forts all the way across Canada, all the way up to Russia, all the way down to Mexico. John McLaughlin, the chief factor who lived in the big white house, he was in charge from Russia to Mexico, to the Rockies, to the Pacific, the Columbia District. When I say Mexico, it was Yerba Buena, San Francisco. So we had 29 to 30 other outposts. They would bring their fur here to us here, and from here it went to England. So this was an important hub. He was like a governor ipso facto. The wolves, the river otters, the martens or mink, foxes, badgers, and wolverines. This is top shelf. They would bring other fur in, but we can't fit them all here. But it's all about this. It's all about the beaver pelt. That was soft gold. So the business started in Canada, like as I said. So the working language for the Hudson Bay was French. Parlez français, because most of them were French-Canadian trappers, engagés, less voyageurs. But the business language was the King's English.
That was pretty cool. The guy in there had a lot of information on that. Again, the blacksmith is closed today, and they have the bakehouse over there, and then the bathrooms, and then the chief factor's house. With the bakehouse right there, there's a new well near the bakehouse. I don't know how new it is. 1845. With a bucket there to go down into the well. Looks like it had good leverage to go fairly deep. And but I'm kind of understanding that would have been a counterweight for it. So they could probably grab the pole, guide it all the way down, scoop it up, and then that would help balance it to pull it back up. This is inside the bakehouse now. Can't go upstairs. It's a little chilly in here. Wood stove is obviously not burning, but that would have been pretty neat to see those going, roaring fires, some bread. From the bakehouse, the bathrooms, to the chief factor's house here. And you go in and take a look at that. You can see right up there in the center is a sundial. But without the sun on this mostly cloudy day, not sure it's really telling us what time it is. It's 1:10 in the afternoon right now, according to my watch. From the sundial at the Indian fur store over there, we're gonna go inside. Inside the chief factor's house. Closed door here, so you can't go inside there, but must be in the front office here.
So we had men cook, men stewards, we called them. They'd bring your food, you'd ring the bell, and your kitchen was never connected to your main manor because of fire. Kitchens tend to burn down a lot. And these colors are the same colors they had back then. When we did the archaeology digs, we found the chards. So these are the colors in every room. So these are the same colors. The green here is the same colors as Mount Vernon. I've been to Mount Vernon.
But yeah, of course, what they were wearing back then was mostly, wool, fur.
Yes, all kinds. Fabric and England, linen. John McLaughlin, this is his side. If you want to see the original furnishings for Dr. John McLaughlin, he was 6'4". You can see people slept like this in here, just like in England, propped up, just like Abraham Lincoln slept propped up.
So we were just in the house here, all the families that live there, and there's a connection right there that I didn't notice before, but coming out of the back of the house straight down into the kitchen here. So we're going to go in and check that out. Good afternoon.
Well, welcome.
As I heard you talking about, those aren't oranges. They had lemon and limes here.
Lemons and limes, and this is pumpkin, called pumpkin leather, dried pumpkin. Everything you see here was grown in our gardens and then put up here to dry.
That wraps up our visit here to Fort Vancouver. We just came out of the house there, going back out the entrance, exit out that. One thing that I learned from the guy who was giving us a tour inside the house there is that even though they had the Bastion over there, I wanted to kind of note that this was not a military fort. This was just to protect the Hudson's Bay Company's fur trading. And so even though they have cannons that are facing what seemed like inside the fort, they could certainly aim up and over the fort walls into the river if they needed to protect in that way. A lot of things were here for intimidation. They had cannons at the front of the house there that they didn't really use to shoot anybody or blow their own door out, just to intimidate people coming here to say that, yeah, if you try to steal any fur or do anything, they were going to defend themselves. So, from Fort Vancouver, off in the distance over there, we've now come over to the Pearson Air Museum, the Jack Murdoch Aviation Center. We're going to go in and check it out. Headed into the Pearson Air Museum. Admission is free. Inside the Air Museum, you first get to learn a little about Lieutenant Alexander Pearson Jr., who was a pilot that died during a test flight. Then there are planes like the one the Red Baron flew, a theater where we saw the portion of a 1-hour film that talked about wing walkers, and of course various historical facts about pilots, the Wright brothers, a woodcutting mill, and how planes were made back then. From Fort Vancouver down the hill over there off in the distance, and Pearson Field way off over there, and Visitor Center off in the distance there. This is the parade ground, and that is Officers Row, which is a bunch of businesses for the most part now, but every one of those buildings on the other side of the parking lot there used to be the officers where they lived. You got Fort Vancouver, the old fur trading fort down there in the distance. But these buildings are offices and other businesses. They seem to be closed to the public in most cases. So not a lot that we can see here other than just walking around, seeing what these buildings look like. So this one of the barracks here has a sign in front of it. It says Quartermaster Storehouse, built in 1919. The one right over here, that's a finance office, built in 1941, I think it said. So some of these do have signs in front of them. I'll go up and see what this one says. This building says it is the Post Exchange Restaurant, built in 1914. Since a lot of these buildings are closed to the public and we can't go inside and see what they look like, we've just been walking around seeing what it all looked like and how it was laid out. Some of them, as we saw, have signs in front of them to say what they originally were when they were built and in what year. But that's going to wrap up our trip here to Vancouver. It was great seeing the fur trading post down there, the fort originally as it was to protect fur, and just get a good look around. Learned a lot about the history of it.